Cotton, we have an issue.
What is it, Admiral?
Well, it's about the Elder Dragons.
Oh, do you want to know which ones are the weakest?
No, why would I want that?
Because you are secretly a monster yourself?
I am not secretly a monster!
Okay, well, what do you want to know then?
I want to know which new ones are the best!
Aw, sir, I think it's obvious.
Oh, I didn't expect a response quite this quickly.
It's you!
I am not an Elder Dragon!
Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, there comes a time in a young hunter's life where they have to accept an age-old truth. Some monsters are objectively better than others, whether it be through sheer power levels, depth of lore, or simple badassery. Today, however, is not that day.
What an odd thing to say.
Today is about the subjectively best monsters, because I am vain and my opinion should matter to all of you. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my top 5 new Elder Dragons in Iceborne.
Number 5.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. We have the capability to make the world's first bionic man.
Rune Nergigante.
Okay, now I know straight up some of you will already be pretty upset about this one being all the way down here, but you have to remember that there are only actually 5 new Elder Dragons even in Iceborne, and as with the rest of the game, the bar is exceedingly high, so even being the 5th best Elder Dragon in Iceborne is by no means insulting. Rune, then, is where he is because he simply lacks uniqueness, in my opinion. The number of differences between him and regular Nergigante are relatively tiny, and while I do enjoy the fight of Rune a hell of a lot, conceptually speaking, he is quite simple and not all that hugely exciting. He is an extremely functional monster who lives to be a badass that swoops in places and murder things, and he essentially functions as the ex machina of the Iceborne story because, spoiler warning, he swoops in before the final boss fight out of nowhere in the first place, then he swoops in to kill the final boss, then he swoops in to bring every single hunter to the Guiding Lands just because he can! No other reason! Story qualms aside, though, Rune Nergigante is in fact a fantastic monster, but he isn't that much of an improvement on the combat of regular Nergigante, and his reason for being isn't all that crazy or interesting, so as much as I do consider Rune to be one of the best monsters just in the game as a whole, he is going to have to be relegated down to number 5 on this list.
Number 4. Velkhana.
What an interesting, lovely, just all-around beautiful creature. This fight is absolutely gorgeous. If you can take yourself out of the danger of imminent attacks for a few seconds and just take in the visuals, it is actually breathtaking. The fight itself is super interesting and pretty unique. However, some of the fight is the reason holding this monster back, in my opinion. The whole ice structure creation gimmick is actually really neat, and I am, if anything, disappointed that the developers didn't play around with this a little bit more than they did. After all, we only have a couple of different ice sculpture type things that show up, really, with the walls themselves being the only things that stay. The walls actually being my mechanical gripe with this fight. If they can block hunters, hunter attacks, and movement of all kinds, then they should block Velkhana's ice beams. It's not like the beam carves a hole through the wall and then goes through. It just straight up phases through walls like nothing, so you can't see it coming, you don't know what's happening, you just get hit by shit, and it annoys me, okay? Lore-wise, this creature is awesome, no doubt about it. After all, being the flagship of an expansion means we as hunters get to spend a lot of time tracking you and learning bits and pieces about you, so Velkhana had a huge advantage there, and honestly, I've fought the absolute hell out of her to get her weapons to the point where I'd gotten so used to the fight that it's hard to truly appreciate it because you just see it all the time, but it is a ton of fun. She is super interesting, and the fight itself is great, and as a whole, the list of complaints for this monster is extremely tiny.
Number 3.
What is that? We don't know. Is it a worm? It's a mushroom.
Yeah, shiitake.
Blackveil Valhazak.
I absolutely 100% love Blackveil Valhazak, just on a pure conceptual level. A Valhazak who came to the ancient forest and accidentally created a secondary symbiosis with mushrooms, which causes all of his effluvium-based attacks to take on much more of a spore-type feel. Lots of gas and puffs of smoke, but this Val is still totally capable of shoving out beams if he uses enough force, which is awesome. The fight has been reworked from normal Valhazak in significant enough ways that just putting on miasma resistance isn't enough to make him a walk in the park, and fighting him without miasma resistance is just a matter massive mistake, honestly. And his big super move spreading spores around the place is just super neat. As a whole, Black Veil's combat changes really agree with me. I think they are pure improvement over base Val Hazak, and a significant improvement at that. However, what really pushes this monster ahead of those behind him is his whole concept. I love the Mushroom Val. I love that he just accidentally melded with this new environment and it changed everything about him. I love that all of it makes sense with the context of mushrooms and such without limiting the capabilities of his fight in any way, shape, or form. Black Veil Val Hazak, in my opinion, is the greatest example of a variant Elder Dragon that we could ask for, and in my opinion, Black Veil is exactly where the developers should look when considering how to make future Elder Dragon variants as well.
Number 2.
実はこの館には面白い衣装がたくさんあるんですよ。つい最近着きましたのが
Shara Ishvalda.
It shouldn't be surprising that this video of the best new Elder Dragons has spoilers, but hey, you know, it has spoilers, so watch on at your own peril. The final boss of Iceborne, Shara Ishvalda, is quite possibly the best spectacle fight in the entire goddamn series. It's hard to even find the right place to start here, honestly, so I guess we'll just go from the literal beginning. This fight starts like a rock golem, a creature unlike anything that we have ever seen before, using vibrations to affect the floor and slide itself into the ground, where it walks around like some creepy hand spider, and it's just really cool, okay? But then after enough beating, you knock the rocky exterior off, and this creepy tree-like demon creature comes out that is somehow simultaneously gorgeous and absolutely terrifying. Shara then pulls out the strongest control over vibration that we've seen in a Monster Hunter game and starts pulling out a massive mixture of sonic blasts, like tiny wind beams that are actually just caused by sound and vibration, from tiny precise beams all the way to the Death Star laser equivalent, and the final massive super move being all of the vibration control used together to create a damn spirit bomb. As far as spectacles go, I just can't think of anything on this level, not truly. Then of course the monster eventually opens its eyes, which are purposefully designed to stare at the camera rather than at the player, which just is such a fantastic game design decision. Like, actually, full round of applause to Capcom on that one, because it makes the fight truly unnerving without taking away from the beauty of this extremely unusual creature. And honestly, I'm just starting to ramble on here. Shara Ishvalda is freaking awesome. That's all there really is to say about it.
Number 1.
This is a nice fish, you know? Big fucking eyes, but a nice fucking fish.
Namielle.
If you've watched any of my other ranking videos for Iceborne so far, it should come as absolutely no surprise that Namielle is here in first place. The deep sea dragon is almost like a creature from our deepest dreams, or even nightmares to be totally honest. Rows upon rows of needle-sharp teeth and a glare that looks more like she wants to rip your throat out than say hello, but the rest of her is just absolutely stunning. The lighting, the watery outer layer, the shape of her back flap, just as a creature left alone in the wild, Namielle is gorgeous, and that's before you even engage her in combat, which is where this monster just leaves everything else in the dust, in my opinion. Between the crazy movement affecting water puddles on the floor that also act as tiny landmines for electrical attacks, to the various beams all the way up to the super slam attack, everything has a place in this fight. Not a single movement seems unnecessary, and that applies to the animations too. Namielle is incredibly graceful for a creature of her size. The way she moves in the air short distances, more like a jellyfish than a dragon, is mesmerizing, and the sliding around the floor is just a fun time, honestly. There is no singular reason that Namielle is at the top of my list, but more so it's just the totality of this creature. As far as I'm concerned, she's just a 10 out of 10 in every single category, so there is just no world in which I couldn't label Namielle as my favorite Elder Dragon in Iceborne. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Cotton Dinosaur, and this has been my list of the top 5 new Elder Dragons in the game. Do you agree with my list? Which Elder Dragon is your favorite? Like if you like the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. This is the brand new outro to tell you all the things that you do that we love, so let's start with something simple and say, oh, we love your eyes. When they're watching us play video games, when we make a bunch of jokes that are kinda lame, or when they gaze upon our failures as we try to kill the monsters or important news about the kingdom and Amelia. Rage, Content, and Hollow are all here, talking about the things you want to hear, so if you want to be the first to hear, like and subscribe and the bell and we'll cheer. Some of you are patrons even though we are all the noobs and you're the pros. There's nothing we can do to thank you. No, really, there's nothing we could possibly do. Goodbye.